Hey everybody, it's Pete. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Welcome to today's episode of Today's Best Stock Picks. Yesterday, or if you're a regular subscriber to the channel, you actually saw me make a call yesterday where I thought that the market is due for profit taking. I thought that with the explosion in a lot of stocks that we had last week, especially last Friday, I really believe that we were going to have a little bit of a hangover this week, and we're starting to see a little bit of profit taking this morning. Now, the difference between profit taking and short selling is as big as the Grand Canyon. So I want to make it clear, not wanting to be long is not the same thing as wanting to be short. Still running all of those scans, there's practically nothing, nothing on the short side that sets up and say, wow, that's a really good idea to short sell. So practice discipline today. It's going to be tough, but it's the right thing to do. You do not want to be short selling strong stocks. It is a very, very fast way to separate yourself from your money. So let's be smart. Let's be disciplined. And if the market happens to be going sideways for a little bit, which again, we're so spoiled right now with the stimulus package below the market, God forbid that the market pull back or go sideways for a couple of days. Excuse me. We have to do the smart thing and make sure that we preserve our precious capital so that we can manage risk in exchange for the next move to the upside. We do have some good opportunities today that we're going to take a look at, but I want to make it clear, some of the opportunities that we had last week and coming into this week are looking like they're finally going to give us a pause to manage risk. Some trades actually hit the profit targets that we were looking for. CAR specifically just was probably the biggest money maker for us in our private community last week. A $25, $30 stock that just exploded and made a payday for a lot of people. So again, I want to get it across. We're going to talk about Tesla and Apple in a second, but you don't need to be trading $600 stocks to have a really good chance of making consistent money in the market. You just need to understand how to manage your risk tolerance, manage your leverage, find good opportunities, and be in those opportunities at the right time. One of the biggest questions that we're constantly getting is, how do I not miss the opportunities that I scanned for or did my research for? And it really comes down to, if you have a big list, you must set alerts. So in other words, if you watch the video on tape reading that we did this morning, if you didn't, just click over, it's under Stocks for Breakfast. You need to understand what levels matter to you, whether it's yesterday's high or low, whether it's today's opening price, whether it's yesterday's closing price, whether it's Monday's opening price. You need to have those levels set as an alert so that if it gets down to that level or gets up to that level, it matters to you. For example, last week we were watching PENN, P-E-N-N, another stock I keep pounding on the table, but it's an affordable stock that a lot of people can get involved with that was having 10% moves. Have your alert set. So I'll actually pull it up on the chart in a second. Where we had the alert set at a certain price, once it finally got through that price, it exploded and gave us just a monster day where you could have made your month's P&L in one trade. So anyway, we're going to get into that right now. We're going to take a look at Tesla. We're going to take a look at Apple. We have a bunch of stocks we're going to take a look at. If you find these videos helpful, absolutely click down and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, definitely leave it below. I might not get back to you immediately, but I will definitely get back to you. That I promise. So we're going to head over to the charts. We're going to take a look at some opportunities. Obviously, we're going to talk about Tesla first. Tesla top $900. And if you actually go over to the chart, it actually kissed $950 to the number right at the high. So it's a good idea to have been long the stock. Now, the question is it still a good idea now? And we're going to actually go over to the weekly charts and take a look at it. And what we're going to notice here is we have 1, 2, 3, 4 opening weeks in a row with a bullish gap. That's kind of hard to sustain. I absolutely like Tesla long. You could say whatever the heck you want about it. It's the same thing with the way the market's rallying right now. You could think about all the bearish things in the world that are going on right now, but the fact of the matter is the market has rallied for probably 9 weeks in a row now. So get your opinion out of the market. Just learn how to read the tape. Right now, this stock is trading at or near all-time highs. Looks like it's going to open a little bit lower. My trade in Tesla this week is to be look at, and a matter of fact, in a few stocks, is I'm going to be looking for a little bit more of this. Because we actually had this pause gap and traded through all-time highs, I am actually looking for the stock to maybe have one more day to the upside before it pauses again, because a lot of stocks actually need that consolidation type price action up there. Even despite the lower opening today, I'm still looking for a spot to bid for the stock. But now you have a decision. Do you want to bid it when it gets to new all-time highs, or do you want to bid it on that pullback? Actually, I want to talk about something which I think is super important. There's been quite a few stocks lately. GNUS, last week was the airline stocks. Yesterday specifically, we nailed Oxy and Chesapeake, and today NKLA is actually following up on some more news. If you're a new trader, if you're somebody who doesn't have experience, if you find the market to be overwhelming, please do yourself a favor. Don't get involved in these super fast moving stocks that can move like that in the blink of an eye if you can't make fast decisions. There's nothing wrong with learning from those stocks while you're still in your learning phase and you're understanding how to read the tape and be a better trader. But as we call these trades out, especially like Tesla or anything along those lines, or Apple, or especially those stocks that had these just astronomical historical moves in a very short period of time, only you could make that decision if you feel like you're an experienced trader. If that thing moves fast, you're going to get out quick enough to make a good decision. If it moves in your favor, you know what to do. If you don't feel like you're there right now, there's nothing wrong with not trading those stocks and being involved in other stocks that we call out. I'll give you some ideas for stocks that you can handle. There's no shame in that. Your job is to see your account growth go up every single month, right? And you have to pick the right fights. You have to pick the right trades that you personally can handle from a risk tolerance perspective, a trade management perspective, a fast decision-making perspective, a buying power perspective. So just do the smart thing where, obviously, I don't know a lot of you personally. Some of you I do, which, thank you. I'm super happy that we've become friends. But you need to make a decision to trade the right stocks for you. So some of these other trades, some of these other faster ones, they're fun to watch. But if you feel like you don't have control over the trade, it's probably good at this stage until you can make faster decisions. To possibly let those trades go by. We actually just lost power there for a second. That was weird. So what we're going to do now is, assuming I still have internet, which I'm not actually sure I do. Hang on. Hey, everybody. So we're back. We just lost power and lost internet. That's a part of living in Florida. So we're going to pick up with part 2 of the video. You might see a little bit of a jump in between here. So let's actually head over to the charts and jump on in. So obviously, we said Tesla popped through and actually kissed 950 and got up to those new levels. There's one or two thoughts here. You can actually say this pause here should lead to another nice bullish run, but the market's actually trading lower today. The stock is probably going to open up lower with the rest of the market, all things considered, between now and 9:30, which is about 2.5 hours from now. I do like it looking at new all-time highs. Honestly, I don't see any reason not to be continuing to look. We're not seeing this type of blow-off action. We're seeing increased volume, but we also just hit all-time highs. So I still like the stock long. Here's the thing, though. If we get long this morning, and again, reading the tape, if you get long, make sure it's above today's opening price, because you want today's action to be in sync with the longer time frame action. If it opens lower, it continues to trade lower. Don't let it go. Let it go. Do not be looking for a spot to pick the bottom if we see profit taking come in. If we do, there's a chance then we might see a couple of days sideways, which will give you an unbelievably good spot to establish a new swing trade long. Apple, very similar type price action. And again, we did not see blow-off type action here. What I do want to see is Apple remain well bid. We talk about it quite a bit, where breakouts should be followed by a well bid candlestick, which we saw yesterday, which again, the whole market is looking, we're actually down, the futures are down 28 points right now in the S&P. We're probably going to see some profit taking on the open, but on the open versus staying there is not the same thing. So again, very similar here. We want to see it open and then stay above the opening price, and obviously then become well bid, which means a higher high and a higher low on the daily candlestick. So as far as some other trades today, we're going to take a look at, I'm going to start out with the trade that I like the most on a lower opening today. DKNG, DraftKings actually had a really nice pullback where we could finally see some profit taking. What I'm looking for today, and I want to be very clear, this is probably one of my go-to trades today, because I'm going to talk about a trade that we made yesterday. A trade I called out yesterday that didn't trigger but had an unbelievably bullish day, and I didn't partake in it because it didn't meet my criteria. That's an important thing for everybody to remember. I'm looking for DraftKings to open lower today test the previous day's low, maybe somewhere around $36, which it traded a little below that, but right around 36. Find buyers at that point and then initiate a new swing trade long, looking for it to take out 44. So again, lower opening, push lower, looking for it to test the previous day's low. I want to talk about a couple of the stocks from yesterday, which is kind of what I was getting to before. These stocks are very volatile, even considering they're a $22 stock. It's easy, 24 actually, 24.40, easy to get involved in these stocks because of how much they're flying all over the place. You need to trade the right share size and have the right thought process and risk going into this trade, because it could turn around in a heartbeat, which, if I'm not mistaken, did yesterday. Let me just go quickly. Yeah, where it pulled back. The high here is 23.59 and the low 22. So it pulled back basically $1.50 very quickly. And Chesapeake was even more dramatic yesterday. This is the 15-minute chart of Chesapeake. So basically a pullback from 76 down to 40. Where's the low here? 48.46. So my point is, and as I started out in the previous video, these stocks are exciting to watch, absolutely exciting to be involved with. If you have the discipline to pull the trigger and get out of a position, pull the plug, use your stop loss and get out. If it turns around on you, you need to know the time frame. So these stocks, me personally, I'm looking for them to settle in a little bit, find a pause, very similar to what Carr did, where it wasn't quite the same explosion, but we finally got out of this level, paused here, and then saw this kind of price action where we actually ended up hitting our target, which was super exciting. So we're looking for another spot above 35 to be looking at. Carr. Penn did very much the same thing, where we had our target here. This is actually the trade that I was talking about, where we had this alert set and finally got through that level and just gave us an unbelievable trend day. And actually taking it a step further, we had an inside candlestick lead to that. Really, really big move to the upside. Some other stocks that we're going to be having on the radar today include Beyond Meat. You can see that Beyond actually has some resistance here. If I could just draw this out to show you, again, support resistance doesn't have to be complicated. It's where did buyers or sellers do something significant last time? And this is where the sellers held that price above 170. For me personally right now is a much better trade, because then we can make a run at all-time highs. A lower opening today, though, actually increases that distance between this resistance level just below 170 and today's potential open around 158. So now it does have a better profit potential because it pulled back. So a lower opening, a pullback, actually sets up a new trade long in BYND. We're also going to talk about the airlines. I am definitely looking for a little bit of a consolidation here. So many people traded these stocks that bought them in March that I've heard from. I don't know personally that I've heard from exiting and super happy getting out. I'm looking, again, I want to be clear, I'm looking for these to pause before I get involved again. I want to be clear on that. I'm looking for them to pause a couple of days and then look for them to have another move. Getting a ton of questions about play. Play is actually in play for me today. It actually had a really good breakout from this consolidation. You can see the candlestick right here, well bid into a breakout, 3 well bid days in a row, and now into an inside candlestick. I am looking for play to follow through. If it trades lower, I'm letting it go. If it breaks, which was a good question by Thomas yesterday in our coaching program, Monday night coaching call. In this case here, I'm looking to be long, especially on this inside candlestick in play, as long as it doesn't trade back into that trading range. So it could be a little bit longer term. Hog has been one that's been popping up in our screens, and actually this pullback here, called out by John in our private community, was just an unbelievable spot to bid. And now you can actually see it's got a new 20-day breakout. Now, the problem with getting long here today is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 days in a row up into a 20-day breakout. As long as you're using a buy stop above the previous day's high, you can look for a new long. But again, the story is the same. A lot of these stocks have just had these crazy good bullish runs over the last 5 to 10 days. Stocks need to pause a little bit. Again, a lot of this movement is caused by the Fed, not necessarily these stocks having blowout quarters. So I'm looking for maybe one more day to the upside here, then looking for a pause, and then having another run like this. Because what's interesting is you can look to the left and say, what does this stock normally do? So we're basically talking about here from 15 to 21, so $6. So then we're looking at 18 to, was that 18? Yeah, 18 up to 24. So again, normally has $6 moves. So what are we looking at here? We're talking 21.50 to 27.50. So that's a $6 move as well. So the stock is doing what it normally does. So as I said, maybe one more day of profit taking, one more day of buying. But these 20-day breakouts are really big levels to monitor. So the stock has already done what it normally does. So if it pulls back, there's nothing wrong with that, really. We have a double bottom, a push and a pause, a push and a pause, a push and a pause, and a push, setting up hog to be the next move higher. D-Dog actually had an amazing day yesterday. It was not on my radar for a very simple reason. This 3-week trading range, it was called out quite a bit in the private community. Some people took advantage of it. It was not on my radar. I want to be perfectly open about that. But it is today. Today, I'm actually going to be taking a look to get long this stock again today. The casino stocks, which have been in play recently, very similar to solid breakouts. For me personally, I haven't been able to trade them profitably. I get involved on these when they finally break out, and I just haven't been able to get a grip on them, but the stocks are still playing out. That doesn't mean that you personally can't. So we have WIN, LBS, which actually an inside candlestick looking for a trend day today, and obviously Penn had 2 days of consolidation. This is a little bit more regional as opposed to the other guys. Lyft actually had double normal volume, and what's interesting about this, it traded up into resistance. So I'm not buying Lyft on a higher opening today. I'm looking for profit taking and looking for this to pause. And again, $40 stock. You don't need to be trading Apple to be involved in the market and make money. If you can find. What's interesting about Square today, and this is one of my favorite setups by a mile, not only do we have one inside day, we have 2 inside days in a row. So the contraction in volatility typically leads to an expansion, which basically means we're expecting a big day today. Is it going to be red or green? Honestly, I have no idea. I'd like it to be green because we're trading at or near all-time highs. So the question comes in is, do you trade this stock short if it breaks out to the downside and continues? For most of us, I would say no, because you're fighting stocks near all-time highs. The better trade here would be looking for it to trade up and through those all-time highs. So those are the opportunities that I have today. One last one that's in the news a lot today, NKLA. Again, very, very similar to what we talked about in Chesapeake and Oxy. Can be challenging to trade these stocks if you can't make fast decisions. This is not normal. A stock going up 100% in one day is not normal. Looks like it's bid to go up another 14% right now, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours before the market opens. Fascinating to watch, unbelievably good to trade if you have a lightning-like decision-making process. If you don't, look, I've never met you, but it's not one of those trades where if you can't make a decision, you want to be involved because you can get your head handed to you pretty quickly. So exercise judgment and be honest with yourself what your skill level is to tackle these kind of trades. So those are the ideas we have today. DKNG on a pullback, testing the previous day's low. Akamai was the trade that I was talking about yesterday where we had a very similar pullback. I was looking for a lower opening to test the previous day's low, but we didn't get it. But then intraday, the stock just exploded and kind of went without me yesterday. But that's fine. I follow my plan, and that's what we're supposed to do as traders. Stock meets your criteria, you get in there. If it doesn't, you let it go. You don't want to fight what makes you money on a regular basis. You want to be seamless and flawless in your execution. And a good stock exploded yesterday. I could have got involved a little bit later, but I ended up trading a few other different stocks, specifically W yesterday, which gave us some nice money right out of the gate in the morning. We had a nice $5 profit on a really good, clean intraday day trading signal. So whether you're day trading or swing trading, we have some really good opportunities today. If you like the channel, absolutely click down and subscribe. That would be awesome. Have any stocks you'd like for us to review? Also, leave those comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great day, everybody.